Hey, you know, so I came to Walmart just to get some brass sinkers. Or some, actually, I always call them bass sinkers. Anyway, just to get some sinkers to do some free rigs. And then I thought, you know, maybe I'll see what else they got. So obviously they've got the trout magnet. Pretty nice assortment, actually. They've got the Joe's flies. Got some of the Thomas lures. Got a few of the Thomas buoyant spoons in here too. Look at this. They've got this cream spoiler shad in an underspin for 98 cents. Ooh, and then they've got a 3-inch version too. It's $1.86. I think I'll go with this little guy. Definitely going to get that. You know, it's Walmart, so we should be able to stay fairly cheap. Actually, I look up above here. They got this color. That's a 2-inch, and they've actually got a 1.5-inch as well, which could be great for like bluegill and stuff. What do I do? What do I do? You know, I'm going to get one of the small ones too. They've actually got a lot of the cream products here. And they've got these rigged twister tails too, which is a pretty good deal, $1.96 for 6 of them. Okay, here we go. Strike King, Mini King spinnerbait. This is 1/8 ounce. I love this color, and sometimes I can't find it. Here you go, the Yo-Zuri snap bean, $3.96, 1/16 of an ounce. Definitely get one of those. This is a pretty cool setup too. Got a topwater crick hopper or craw and a little, maybe a little bomber. And I don't know how much it is. It's like it might be 13 bucks, which isn't bad for 4 lures, but it says it's a 3-pack. There's actually 4. You know, but when you see that the crick hopper is going for like $6.50, and I mean the Rebel Craw, you know, if those are like $6 a piece, at least for 2 of them, that's a pretty good deal. Look at this baby hula popper. I mean, give you an idea how big it is. That thing is tiny. It says it's 3/16 of an ounce, but that's a small one. Ooh, they have it here in a couple other colors too. It's actually down from the rest of the baits. They have this whole 2 boxes of cream baits. I'm thinking they may be like $1.25 each. So let's see what we got in here. This is basically like a little snap bean almost. It says it's called Sexy Shad. And here's something that looks sort of like a Rebel Craw. That color might be nice too. Okay, now I just found this too, and this will probably finish it up. Lunker Hunt Pocket Frog. It's a 1/4 ounce. I don't know, we'll give that a try too. So I ended up spending $25 in there. But that was with the free rig stuff and 1 extra spinnerbait that I found on the way out. So, not too bad. Now, as I looked at all of the stuff that I bought, I was intentionally trying to fill in my tackle, you know, options on stuff that I didn't have. But everything except that frog was really small. So, I grabbed the Micro Monster on the Venom rod. It's like a super ultralight setup. And we're gonna fish for some panfish with the stuff we got, with all these baits that we got. This is, you know, one of the spots I always used to hit. It's sort of a love-hate relationship with it. I figured in another month or so they're gonna start stocking for trout, and this place will just be crawling with people again. But when I was out here in the early summer, I was fishing for bass, but I saw all kinds of panfish. And my very first crappie that I caught was early this year, and it was here. There's a bunch of rock bass too. So we're just going to run through these different baits and, you know, give each one a few minutes. And I'm just going to fish this, pretty much this one area, since I have it to myself for once. And let's see if some of these baits don't produce for us. Again, these are mostly different than what I would normally use. So I'm starting with the Yo-Zuri snap bean. Again, you can get a feel for how small these guys really are. That was a little bit of a bad cast. Yeah, something's following it. I'm not trying to get that shallow. I may need to lighten the brakes a little bit. Seems like it's flying to the left a little bit. There we go. Just a couple clicks on the brakes makes all the difference. We got some sludge or something. Oh, there we go, right off. I mean, there's only a few casts. It looks like a little bass, actually. Little largemouth. There we go. Hey, still not the smallest fish of the year. I tell you what, he hit that hard. Got 2 hooks in him. There we go. Oop, oop. Okay, he got in. There's a lot of gunk in the water. A lot of gunk in the water. I'll tell you what, and this tiny little bait, when it gets anything on it, it just kills the action. You know, here's the thing. All of those lures that I got at Walmart, they all fit in here. So I think what I'm going to go to next is, that was the Yo-Zuri. I think these are the cream ones that are real similar to it. So I'm going to switch to one of those and see if we can't catch something on it real quick. Okay, lure number 2. It kind of feels a little bit lighter and definitely swims a lot different. I kind of felt like what I got was just a different version of the same lure, but honestly, it's a good bit different. You can work this one slower, it feels like, and you almost need to work it slower. And it's got a different type of wobble to it, whereas the snap bean seems to like want to dig down to the bottom. This one just sort of like stays a little bit below the surface. It goes down a little, but ooh, and I had a hit right there. You know what? I think the snap beans is a sinking lure, and this is a floating lure. So in shallow conditions with all of this muck on the bottom, this could be the ticket. Just had a bluegill look like come up and look at that. But with this, with the snap on the front, it's almost like a, what was that? I just saw something over that way. It's almost like it oh, there was a bite. What I was saying is, it's almost like it's just it's almost a suspending, but not quite. Oh, let's see if I try to move it a little bit faster. Does something hit it? Oh, had something else hit it. And it's funny, I felt something hit it a couple times. Feels like cranking this one really slow. It's got this little tight wobbling action. You know, it is almost suspending. There was a bluegill that came right up behind that. Cormorant out there swimming around. Years ago, there was one of those on the highway not far from here, and I actually ended up having to catch it with my bare hands and catch a ride with a policeman, and we brought it down here to the lake. Had another little hit. I don't know if it was a little bass or a little bluegill, but I kind of saw it. Oh, yeah, I've had a few bites on it. this could be a great lure for really working the shallows, because it really doesn't run very deep at all. Okay, we're going to go to the crawfish crankbait. Some people absolutely love these. Wow, this has a ton of action. Compared to the last couple, you know, it's a bigger bait too. A lot of side-to-side wobble. Now compared to the first two where I had hits like on the first, second, third cast. You know, this one being a little bit bigger bait, maybe the smaller fish aren't going to be into it. Oh, that was a nice cast. It's possible that the crawfish crankbait may not produce. Yeah, so this is so shallow, and with the treble hooks, it's not taking much to get this to run poorly. Okay, so far the Yo-Zuri snap bean is the champion. Of course, it was the first one to go. Okay, black and blue spinnerbait, silver blade, Colorado blade. Like, this is just one of my favorite lures. I will say this, and I've said it before on other rods, it seems like the best rods also don't get the line wrapped around the tip very often, and some of the less expensive rods definitely do. This is kind of crazy when you think about it, because like, you would never take a lure that you caught a fish on your third or fourth cast, and then just a couple casts later say, okay, we're going to switch to something else. But honestly, so far I've had hits on everything except for the crawdad lure. Oh, well, I tell you what, that one hit it and took off to the left. He wasn't huge, but he was a lot bigger than the first one we caught. I saw the shadow go shooting off. I've been using the Jackal Dara spins a little bit lately, and I tell you what, the blade on those always seems to start turning. And so one thing I do notice, switching over to, you know, a less expensive, you know, big box store spinnerbait, and not that Strike King's bad at all. I mean, I like them, but you know, that blade doesn't always start turning. So sometimes I got to give the rod a little bit more of a nice tug to set the blade in motion. You know, there's part of me, it feels like maybe I should just blow through baits more often, and, you know, in half an hour try 5 different lures and see what's working best. But we're going to switch to a different spinnerbait, and then I think there's only one more to try, and so we'll do that. And if neither of those next two are really producing much, we'll go back to the snap bean. You know, this is still a spinnerbait, but completely different than the black and the, I mean, you can't really get much more different. This is a tandem blade, not nearly as much thump, chartreuse and orange. So for those that wonder about left-handed versus right-handed, I think this situation where you're fishing shallow water, where you're trying to stay off the bottom because there's so much algae and debris, you're able to, and even then you still pick it up every once in a while. I'm able to cast it out and basically stop it with my thumb and start the retrieve pretty much simultaneously, which keeps it off the bottom a little bit and gives you a chance to maybe catch some of these fish that are on this flat. And I had that previous spot to myself for all of about 30 minutes, which means that probably less than an hour ago somebody else just left it. So we're going to hit a few more spots along this stream and see if we can't catch a few on the rest of the lures. You know, so far, came down here thinking I'd get some panfish. And I got 2 small bass, and something else just hit it right there. Oh, crap. Oh. Well, that ends today's fishing trip. Another rod bites the dust. Well, that's disappointing. You know, it's kind of interesting. I don't really treat any of my rods any different than the other ones, but you know, 2 of my least expensive rods, you know, that I bought this year trying them out, are the only ones to break. So there is something to be said for the quality of the rod. I think I'll do a full review on this Venom, but it's had a few issues, and this is just sort of the final piece of that. So the downside is I got, I think, 1 cast in before I made a little bit of a bad cast with the I think that was the Storm little spinner, and it was a minnow, and I got a hit from what looked like maybe a sunfish or a bluegill on the first cast. So that might work out pretty well. Hey, that's the Walmart BFS Lure Challenge. You know, I came down to catch some small fish on a small rod, ended up breaking the rod, but you know, they're good lures. That Yo-Zuri snap bean, I mean, it was instantaneous. I like I said, on any normal day, I just would have kept fishing that for a while. You know, the spinner baits they're good. They're, you know, they're not as good as the Japanese stuff, but they're 1/3, 1/4 the price, you know, so what do you expect? The other little cream little mini cranks that are floating, I think those are going to be awesome for shallow water, so I'm looking forward to using those. And then those little spinners, I like those too. Thanks for watching. You need some budget BFS gear, head to Walmart, catch some fish. See you later.